Hi there. Welcome everyone to our next session of Meet the Members of Empower Africa. I'm excited and honored to host this terrific podcast. My name is Shai Bernstein. I'm VP of Business Development and Partnerships at Empower Africa. Before I present our distinguished guest, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, Empower Africa is a business community with a mission to drive investment, trade, and job creation in Africa. We believe in trade over aid, and that business is the best way to grow, build, and create sustainable and scalable solutions. We believe in bringing good people together and the power of synergy. Our goal is to create connections, optimize communication, and maximize on the collaboration. The Empower Africa business community brings together SMEs, startups, entrepreneurs, investors, banks, PEs, VCs, multinational enterprises, government officials, nonprofits, you name it, everyone to one table. All those who are driving business in Africa to one table to enhance the communication and collaboration. Speaking of bringing good people together, it's my pleasure and honor to welcome Hema Vallabh. Hema is a founding partner at FIVE35 Ventures. Hema, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Shai.
Fantastic, wonderful. We've known each other for quite a while now. Unfortunately, only virtually. We haven't yet met in person, but we've had quite a number of conversations already. Throughout the past few months. You spoke at one of our events, and it was fantastic. Please tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, no, it's been great, and I guess this is the new normal, right? As much as people hate the term. But yeah, again, thank you for having me. Let's see where to start. So as you mentioned, I'm here in Johannesburg in South Africa, where I was actually brought up. So I grew up in Lenasia, a small town south of Johannesburg. And for those of you who know South Africa's history, I grew up in a very recent post-apartheid South Africa when I was schooling, and grew up in what was at the time regarded as an Indian township. Amazing community, loving parents, and great background from that perspective. But I think later in life, realizing just how sort of disadvantaged I was because of the limited opportunities I was exposed to. And I guess I've spent the better part of my life then trying to address that, the inequalities, the injustices, and it's been a large part. My upbringing and my background has been quite a core part of my purpose and the work I've then subsequently done or gone on to do and continue to do, I guess.
Wow, fantastic! That's incredible. And so tell us a bit about FIVE35 Ventures.
Well, yeah, I think before we even get to FIVE35 Ventures, for me, it's been quite a journey, So when people ask my introduction, I always say I'm an engineer turned entrepreneur turned investor. And it really started at that early days of studying to become an engineer. Again, no secret, it's a very male-dominated space. And I'm one of those people, you can sit back and complain about a problem or you can do something about it. So at the time, my version of doing something about it was starting a platform to support and develop female engineers like myself. And that has evolved into a nonprofit organization called WomEng, where we support and develop the talent pipeline of girls and women in engineering. WomEng now is going on to 16 years old. For the first half was very much a passion project I did on the side while I went on to go work as an engineer in the oil and gas space. But about in 2013, I thought, and I just come back from working 2 years in Germany as an engineer, and I said, let me take a year sabbatical from my very well-paid, cushy engineering job to follow my passion, because, again, realizing just how big the need is to have more women in the space. So did that, and a year sabbatical. 8 years later, I'm still here. But what I subsequently went on to do was seeing just how much impact we were having with WomEng, and also starting to particularly work with female founders in engineering and tech. Spun out from WomEng to start WomHub in about 2016. And WomHub is a boutique incubator, accelerator, and now the very first female-only co-working space for female founders in STEM in Africa. And again, just seeing such incredible talent come through the pipeline. And, between WomEng and WomHub, we've worked in 22 countries around the world, but a very strong focus on Africa. And again, seeing the talent here, but realizing how little capital was being pumped and allocated to female founders. I think it's globally for sure, but on the continent,
Wow.
exasperated even further. And it was with that in mind I picked my next challenge. I certainly know how to pick my battles. And in doing so, last year started to raise my fund, FIVE35 Ventures. 535 Ventures is just that. It's a VC fund, a pan-African female-focused fund investing in women in tech on the continent. And for me, it really is all in the name. So, we know if we add more women entrepreneurs to the African ecosystem, we could see up to a 5% uplift in GDP. And that's really by leveraging the 35% higher ROI that we typically see in, female-led teams versus all male-led teams. So 535 Ventures is a seed and Series A fund. We will do seed investments up to $500,000 US dollars, and Series A investments up to $2 million. Still in the fundraising stage right now, but super excited about the journey ahead. And yes, of course, the impact that we're really looking to make as the new normal again. Just seeing women at the helm of this space.
100%. Wow. That's fantastic. And I have to share with you, I feel like, I think growing up, I feel very privileged in a lot of aspects. And I think that growing up, there were multiple times where I felt that my view on reality is, like all of ours, right, is very much affected just by my surroundings and how I grew up. And so I grew up in a very, very egalitarian household where both my parents worked full time, and there were no limitations the way I saw it, for men or for women. Also from a religious aspect, by the way, in terms of the observancy of my household, but that's a whole different conversation within Judaism. But and I think that also the fact that I just married, my wife, who's just this uber accomplished, MD, PhD, incredible woman. I guess I just never really felt or saw, such a big discrepancy or issue, within the different opportunities that exist. And I think it's after I started traveling to rural Africa, and after I really started, kind of learning more about it, it kind of just underlined my, white male, self that just inherently is born, in a specific way and takes certain things for granted. You know what I'm saying? That it is not the case in so many places around the world. And I agree with you 100% also specifically about the venture space, which that, of course, as we know, is also extremely, dominated on that end. And it's just, it's very inspiring to see many different funds and just groups doing tremendous work on that front. There's two fantastic entrepreneurs that I know in Israel as well that opened up an amazing fund called iAngels, and it's also focused on very similar aspects. By the way, that's an interesting intro, perhaps, that we should talk about offline. Anyway, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to hog the conversation. It's inspiring to hear you, to hear you speak and hear more about what you're doing. It's fantastic. So, what would you be looking for? What are you looking for? How can we help in terms of the Empower Africa business community in general? And in general, outside as well, right?
And it's exactly that, and thank you so much for highlighting that, right? So we don't choose the worlds, the families, the environments we're born into, right? It's not your fault you're a white male, born in Europe. In my case, I'm the other extreme of that, right? So African, female, person of color, and hence the lenses through which we see the world and experience the world are very different. It's not about, we can't choose where we come from, but we can absolutely choose what we do with that. And I think this is why conversations like this are important, partnerships like this are important, collaborations are important, because, the view you bring to the world is something I can leverage off, given what you're exposed to, and the understanding and perhaps empathy with which I come from, given, the path I've walked, is what really helps me understand and spot talent in a way somebody who doesn't look and sound like me would perhaps miss. And I think that's really where the magic and the opportunity lies. And with 535 Ventures, unapologetically a commercial fund, but by virtue of who I am, impact is at its core. And we really are. We have so many amazing female founders we're already tracking, and I see so much potential and talent. But we're only able to, make that next step if we're able to raise the right capital. And right now, I'll be very honest, being a first-time female fund manager is not the easiest thing to be. And I guess that's my biggest ask, right? So for those who are looking to get involved in a fund like mine, who are looking to, take a step into Africa, people who want to really invest in the top female talent, let's have a conversation. There's various ways in which you can get involved in the fund. We're fundraising from institutions, family offices, foundations, high net worth individuals. But a vehicle I'm particularly very excited about is I've launched what I'm calling the 35 Club. And the 35 Club will be a group of 35 global women who, have smart resources, smart capital, and who really want to have it's investments between $35,000 through to $350K. And by investing through us at 535, are then subsequently investing into the top female companies on the continent. And the obvious win for everybody is the investment, but it's also a community of women investors, because I don't want this concept of being a female fund manager or being a woman investor to be new or novel. We need to normalize that. So part of my personal mandate at 535 is to democratize this space for more women to get involved. So, if anybody's interested, if you are, if you have a friend, if you have someone in your network, let's have a conversation and let's trailblaze this space together.
Amazing. That's great. And we'll talk about it more offline. So, to conclude, I always like, before we wrap things up, to ask our guest to just kind of share a saying or a quote that they like and that they resonate with. So please.
Yeah, and it's one I've just been quoting quite a lot recently. It actually comes from my co-founder Nadia, who's been my business partner for the last 15 years in building this ecosystem, the full ecosystem supporting women and female founders on the continent in particular. And I think something that we as women don't do often enough, she always tells me, Hema, you need to own your awesome. And I love that so much. It's short and it's snappy. It's 3 words, but I think until we own our awesome, we are, we don't step up and really occupy the space in the powerful way that we're meant to. So, to those women and men, I guess, out there, but women in particular, just own your awesome.
Fantastic. Wow, that's deep. Thank you, Hema. Thank you for joining us. And we'll, like I said, discuss offline more exciting things as well. It was a pleasure hearing from you and what you're doing. Keep up the good work and stay safe and healthy.
Super. Thank you so much once again, Shai. It was great chatting to you as always.
Bye-bye.